Bangsamoro Organic Law plebiscite yields high voter turnout despite tensions. The Commission on Elections survives signal problems in transmission of results during the mock polls. And fighting Senator Manny Pacquiao retains WBA welterweight title after beating Adrian Bronner. Good evening. Tensions ignited in Cotabato City during the plebiscite for the ratification of Bangsamoro Organic Law. Some individuals were accused as flying voters and were mobbed by fellow voters. From Cotabato City, Nel Maribok will tell us why live. Yes, Nel, good evening.
Good evening, Rheena. The Cotabato City has encountered a serious tension before and during the referendum for the Bangsamoro Organic Law ratification.
A day before the plebiscite, blast rocked the city because of the hand grenade detonated nearby the house of a judge. The relatives of the victim are looking into two motives of the bombing. Number one is job-related, or the suspects may want to disrupt the plebiscite. During the plebiscite, tension erupted in a polling center in Cotabato City Institute. Residents chased two alleged flying voters. Some voters mobbed one individual that they suspected as not a resident of Cotabato City. The other person, however, was able to immediately escape. Cotabato City Mayor Frances Sintiag Yani Sayadi was also in the area. The one who was apprehended was identified as Yaser Sakaria.
Baguados. Dito ang register namin, sir.
Kaya nga nakilala siya, hindi siya taga rito. Inutusan daw siya ni, sinong Ustads?
Ustad Nasir.
Ustads Nasir daw.
A voter also complained to Mayor Sayadi of a plebiscite committee member of replacing her vote with yes from no vote. The plebcom member denied the allegation.
So kanina nung naisulat na, nung ilalagay pa lang, hindi na siya nag-complain, hindi siya nagsabi sa akin.
Sabi niya, yes. Yun na sana, patuloy na sa
Huwag ka na mag-discuss kasi you're supposed to be neutral. Dahil chair members kayo ng board.
Meanwhile, a grenade that failed to set off was found in front of Rojas National High School just before the opening of polling precincts. Authorities immediately responded and defused the grenade. In Canizares National High School, some teachers withdraw as plebcom members, prompting soldiers to take over the voting process. According to COMELEC ARMM Regional Office, out of 327 polling precincts, 24 experienced delays, affecting about 8,000 voters. In Cotabato City Institute, a large number of voters were already lined up early outside the school, but it was already around 7:50 a.m. when the polling center opened. In Cerro Central School, a huge numbers of voters also patiently waited for the opening of the precincts. Despite the tension, long queue and hot weather, Cotabateños still showed their eagerness to cast their votes for the ratification of BOL.
Okay lang din, sir. Ang importante, makabuto kami.
Basta, saan yung maganda?
Okay naman. Mabilis lang po.
Meanwhile, the COMELEC announced that it will conduct an investigation of the tension that erupted as well as the allegation of vote switching in Cotabato City Institute.
Kung flying voters yan, nasa listahan natin, so she has the right to vote. And we have to inquire on that.
It's people who call them flying voters. We don't know for sure yet if they are flying voters. From all of the reports I've heard, it was basically people saying, we don't know these people, therefore they are flying voters, and then they gang up on them.
Overall, COMELEC reported that the plebiscite was generally peaceful.
All polling centers in Cotabato City have apparently closed. All election returns will be brought up here in the Sharif Kabusuan Cultural Complex for canvassing. The Board of Canvassers have already convened and they will target to finish the canvassing of votes tonight. The canvass report will immediately deliver to Intramuros, Manila in COMELEC main office for final canvassing. The COMELEC has 4 days to complete the process and for the release of the final result of BOL plebiscite for the 5 provinces of ARMM, Isabela City, in Basilan, and in Cotabato City. Rheena.
Thank you so much for that report, Nel Maribok, live from Cotabato City. The Commission on Elections is satisfied with the voter turnout in the first plebiscite for the Bangsamoro Organic Law, or BOL. COMELEC also reports that the overall conduct of the plebiscite was orderly, despite a number of reported tensions erupting. Dante Amento will tell us why.
The Commission on Elections lauded the high voter turnout in the first day of plebiscite for the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. The plebiscite was held earlier in 7 major areas in Mindanao, namely Maguindanao, Sulu, Lanao del Sur, Tawi-Tawi, Basilan, and in the cities of Isabela and Cotabato City. Despite a number of reported tensions erupting, COMELEC Commissioner Attorney Antonio Co. Jr. said the overall conduct of the plebiscite was orderly and there were no major threats of violence recorded in participating areas.
So far naman, okay naman yung turnout natin sa mga areas covered by the plebiscite.
On the eve of the plebiscite, 2 grenade explosions were recorded in Cotabato City, though authorities said the incident might not be related to the plebiscite.
Ang tinitignan natin, of course, posible na something personal and personal, and the other thing is pwedeng parang mantakot ng tao. Although sabi ko nga, ito kung mantatakot ng tao, probably sa labas dapat tinapon to.
Before the start of the voting, pro and anti-BOL advocates briefly clashed at Cotabato City Institute due to alleged vote buying. Despite this, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Western Mindanao Command, and the Philippine National Police observed the high turnout of voters even hours before the voting closed.
But as of today, none in my area na may umayaw na BEIs. So therefore, lahat ng BEIs ngayon deployed are teachers.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue, Zamboanga City.
The Commission on Elections reports a peaceful and orderly conduct of the mock polls last Saturday despite signal problems in the transmission of results in Cebu City. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
The Commission on Elections held mock polls last Saturday, January 19, in 60 areas across the country. COMELEC said the process was generally peaceful and orderly, despite jammed network signals in Cebu after the mock elections coincided with the conduct of Sinulog Festival. As an alternative, the poll body used another technology so as not to hamper the transmission of results from participating precincts, particularly in barangays Mabolo and Luceran in Cebu.
Mas maganda ngayon na parang merong shutdown or jamming ng signal ng cellphone kasi we can also test yung aming beacon. Oo, it's a satellite based technology na kung wala talagang signal yung internet, we can use the satellite technology. It's called Broadband Global Area Network, beacon. So, nandiyan yan nasa labas na equipment na yon. Kung talaga if all mode of transmission fails, we can use that sa pag-transmit ng mga results.
Meanwhile, signal problem was also the obstacle in the transmission of results from Region 9, but the issue was immediately addressed.
Cloud cover, especially since some of them are transmitting via satellite, medyo hindi mahanap ng signal yung satellite. And in some cases, pag mahina yung signal, again, yung cellular signal, again, this is not a diss at the telcos who are providing the signal, but sometimes really these things fluctuate. So, kuminsan nagkaka-issue sa ganyan, like ARMM for instance.
COMELEC spokesperson Director James Jimenez said that through the mock elections, the agency was able to identify the areas that need further improvement prior to the actual polls in May. Particularly, Jimenez noted the problem in transmission of election results, especially in the event of signal jamming or shutdown. COMELEC said areas that encountered signal problems used the General Packet Radio Service or GPRS to transmit the election results. During the mock polls, the process of transmission of election results was tested. All clustered precincts send their respective election results to 3 servers, namely the COMELEC Central Server, the Transparency Server, and the National Board of Canvassers. The COMELEC Central Server and the Transparency Server receives all transmitted votes directly from the vote counting machines or VCMs in polling precincts. The National Board of Canvassers, meanwhile, will declare the final results after it collected all election returns transmitted from assigned servers. The poll body was pleased to report that the actual process of voting up to the transmission of election results was completed on time in 3 major areas in Metro Manila: Barangay Bahay Toro in Quezon City, Barangay Pinagbuhatan in Pasig, and Barangay 669 in Manila, wherein the actual number of voters joined the mock polls. The mock election was held from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. last Saturday.
Okay naman yung mock elections natin, nakaboto naman yung mga tao. Nakita natin lahat ng gusto nating makita, partikular doon sa mga proseso natin, no? Ang purpose o ang dahilan kung bakit tayo nag-mock elections ay para malaman natin kung paano nagpe-perform yung sistema, kung ano nangyayari doon sa mga prosesong nakapalibot doon sa ating automated system.
The COMELEC vows to address the areas that need improvements in the overall system of automated election, especially the transmission of results ahead of the actual May midterm polls. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The National Electrification Administration and other power distributors in the country assures of stable power supply for the upcoming midterm elections. Mirasol Abogadil tells us why.
The country's energy sector assures that no power outage will occur in the coming months, especially during the midterm elections this May. According to the National Electrification Administration, there is enough power supply to serve electricity demand nationwide following low power usage in the past months. Power plants were also ordered not to schedule any maintenance shutdown during the election period, guaranteeing stable power for polling and canvassing centers.
There are actually nil or minimal issues in terms of supply. May supply naman tayo. Mindanao has ample supply already. Visayas, wala tayong problema considering it's connected to the grid. The SPUG areas have their own power supply.
Current NEA data showed comfortable reserve capacity in Luzon and Mindanao, which exceeded by 1,000 megawatts and more than 200 megawatts in the Visayas. Meralco also explained that the scheduled power interruptions in Metro Manila and nearby cities are part of maintenance works and not due to thin power reserve. Despite the country's stable power supply, NEA still cannot discount the possibility of power outages during the election period due to unforeseen incidents that could lead to power loss.
They have the supply. However, if there are man-made or natural calamities, rebellion or some sorts, there would be power interruptions in their system.
With this, the agency calls on the government to strictly monitor areas that are considered as election hotspots due to the presence of intense political rivalry and armed groups. The energy sector has yet to receive any threat against its facilities, but some electric cooperatives, especially in Mindanao, have already activated a task force to ensure peaceful and orderly operations during polls. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Another round of fuel price increase is expected this week. Oil industry players estimate the price of diesel to go up by 30 to 40 centavos per liter and kerosene by 10 to 20 centavos. No price movement is expected for gasoline. The price hike is due to the upward movement of international crude oil prices. Meanwhile, the Department of Education National Employees Union or DepEd-NEU seeks to speed up the process of distributing salaries to their non-teaching contract of service or COS employees. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The Department of Education National Employees Union or DepEd-NEU disclosed that some non-teaching contract of service employees still haven't received their salaries last December. Non-teaching COS employees in DepEd include janitors, sweepers, and other maintenance staff. DepEd-NEU said almost 900 employees in DepEd's central office are non-teaching COS employees, and the salary delays heavily affected their lives, with some opting to apply for a loan to help their family.
Nangungutang sila, yung iba nag-a-absent, kasi siyempre walang pamasahe.
The president of DepEd-NEU adds the process of the salary distribution is too slow and it is causing a delay in the salary of non-teaching COS employees.
Out of one voucher, 20 of them or 100 of them, isang nagka-problema, ibabalik yung buong voucher dahil may isang tao na may problema.
The department suggested to no longer return the voucher whenever there is a problem with the salary of one employee. But DepEd NEU wants a dispersing officer to expedite the salary process and avoid any more delays.
Isa na lang ang kukuha ng cheque and then may payroll, pumila na kayo, bayad. Kaysa naman yung mahabang proseso na bawat isa ay isang voucher, no?
DepEd said they already took action on the issue and gave out the delayed December salary of the employees. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Boxing's only 8th division world champion Manny Pacquiao proves that age is just a number after his impressive and dominant victory over younger Adrian Bronner in Las Vegas, USA. Kath Canlas tells us why.
Filipino fighting senator Manny Pacquiao successfully defends his WBA welterweight world championship title after earning a unanimous decision victory over Adrian "The Problem" Bronner at the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas on Saturday. The 40-year-old Filipino multiple world champion looked like his old brilliant self as he controlled each round and cruised to a comfortable win to take his career record to 6-1, 7-2. Bronner, 29, fought and stayed upright despite being hit with several heavy combinations but was ultimately outclassed. Two judges scored the bout 116 to 112 in favor of Pacquiao, while the third has the Filipino senator a 117 to 111 winner.
I was surprised that he didn't throw a lot of punches to me. He's waiting for me that I'm going to throw a lot of punches. So our strategy for this fight is to counter. That's what we did. But since that's his style also, so we make adjustment with Boboy.
Pacquiao's win sent boxing fans ecstatic, expressing awe over his stellar performance.
40-year-old, age doesn't matter. He's still in great shape. He can still box. He can still fight. Came in with a great game plan, and he stuck with the game plan. It was great. He still looks like he could do it for like 5 more years. Looks great. He's fast. He's quick. He destroyed Bronner. It was too easy. It was too easy, man, for Manny.
The only person who disagreed with the outcome was Bronner, who insisted that he beat Pacquiao in his post-fight interview.
I was ready. I prepared myself. I trained my ass off, and I was ready to fight. You know, like I said before, they was hoping that I came in here and just got destroyed, which that didn't happen. And you know, I knew I was coming. I knew I was the underdog, and they was against me already. But it's alright. I'll be back, and I will be champion again.
The bout against Bronner was Pacquiao's 70th professional fight and his first as a 40-year-old. Pacquiao said his latest victory only proves that his boxing career still continues.
Right now, I'm still okay. I mean, I can still fight. You see my performance. I can be still aggressive fighter, and I can give my best at the age of 40.
When asked if he would like to rematch Floyd Mayweather Jr. in the future, Pacquiao said he'd do it if Mayweather is willing to go back to boxing. Mayweather attended the fight, but did not answer speculations of rematch against Pacquiao. Kat Canlas, UNTV News and Rescue, Las Vegas, USA.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up from where Rheena Villamor-Camara left off. I'm Angelo Castro III, and here are the headlines.
Hindi pang-aapi sa bata. In fact, pag-reform. Kasi anong gagawin natin sa mga bata na ginagamit?
House panel approves bill seeking to lower age of criminal liability to 9 years old. Malacanang insists President Rodrigo Duterte is not abandoning federalism bid despite hints at shift in 1987 charter revision. And Malacanang urges public to prepare for the effects of Tropical Depression Amang as it moves closer to Leyte, Samar areas. More than 200 families in Butuan City have fled their homes due to Tropical Depression Amang. Classes in schools as well as air and sea travels in Caraga region also remain suspended. Vincent Arboleda tells us why.
The Butuan City Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office remains on alert even if Tropical Depression Amang already made a landfall over neighboring Siargao Island in Surigao del Norte last night. Based on their monitoring, a landslide incident has been reported in the city, but no one was injured and roads have already been cleared. 220 families from Barangay Bugsukan are also temporarily taking refuge in a covered court after they fled their homes last night.
Lilinawin ko lamang na ito ay preemptive evacuation lamang dahil ini-aim or layunin ng LGU Butuan or ng CBRMO na magkaroon ng ligtas na kalagayan ang mga residente at zero casualty ang ini-aim natin.
Local disaster officials are also calling on residents in low-lying areas and along Agusan River to be vigilant even if its water levels remain normal. This is because Tropical Depression Amang could still dump rains and cause flooding in Butuan and other areas in Caraga region. Based on the latest report from the State Weather Bureau, Pag-asa, light to moderate rains are expected over areas in Bicol, Northern Samar, and other areas tonight.
Panawagan lang ng LGU na mag-ingat, no? O maging alert din kung maaari, kung alam nilang nasa low-lying area sila or nasa landslide prone area, mas mabuti na maghanda sila para kung ano man ang mangyari, agad silang makakatakbo sa designated na evacuation area.
Classes in schools and flights in Siargao Airport have been cancelled due to the inclement weather. Sea trips in various ports in Caraga are also suspended after Pag-asa advised against venturing out into waters due to Amang and the surge of northeast monsoon. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Malacanang calls on the public to stay vigilant and to coordinate with authorities as Tropical Depression Amang moves toward Leyte and Samar areas. In a statement, presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said they are closely monitoring the storm and that all concerned disaster-related agencies are now on standby. Panelo noted that the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has already evacuated more than 2,000 families in the provinces of Albay, Camarines Sur, Masbate, Eastern Samar, Agusan del Norte, Dinagat Islands, Surigao del Norte, and Surigao del Sur as a preemptive measure. Meanwhile, Department of Social Welfare and Development has already pre-positioned a total of 2,500 family food packs amounting to over 900,000 pesos in the Department of Public Works and Highways Surigao City warehouse, the palace official added. As of 4 p.m. today, the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration or Pag-asa reported that Amang has slightly slowed down over the eastern seaboard of eastern Samar. The tropical depression packs maximum sustained winds of 45 kilometers per hour with gustiness of up to 60 kph. Amang is moving north at 10 kilometers per hour. Tropical cyclone warning signal number 1 remains hoisted over Sorsogon, Masbate, including Ticao Island, northern and eastern Samar, Biliran, and Leyte. The Senate has approved on third and final reading the proposed 3.757 trillion pesos 2019 national budget. 14 senators voted to pass the budget with 0 negative votes and abstention. The approval comes 2 months after the House of Representatives passed its version of the measure last November 2018. The two chambers of Congress are set to convene in a bicameral conference committee to reconcile their versions of the budget. It will then be sent to President Rodrigo Duterte for signature. The House Committee on Justice decision to approve the lowering of the age of criminal liability to 9 years old fanned outrage among children's rights advocates. Grace Katzin will tell us why.
The House Committee on Justice on Monday swiftly approved a measure lowering the age of criminal liability to 9 years old from the current 15 years old. The substitute bill will amend the current Republic Act No. 10630 or the Juvenile Justice and Welfare System Act, which implements the minimum age of criminal liability at 15 years old. Committee Chairman Doyle Achon said it is timely as the number of minors engaging in criminal activities is increasing, according to the data provided by the Philippine National Police. Under the bill, children aged 9 to 17 years old who will commit petty crimes will not be detained in a regular jail, but in youth care facilities or in Bahay Pag-asa for rehabilitation. However, once they commit serious crimes and are ruled guilty, they will be brought to agricultural camps. Serious crimes include murder, parricide, infanticide, serious illegal detention, carnapping, and violation of the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. Once they reach the age of 25, they will be released, regardless if they completed their jail term or not. Their identity will remain classified according to the House panel.
Hindi pang-aapi sa bata. In fact, pag-reform. Kasi anong gagawin natin sa mga bata na ginagamit?
Some group advocating the rights of children condemned the House decision, saying minors shouldn't be held liable for the menace that corrupts the society.
Mga sindikato bababa lang, pupunta sila sa 8, 7, 6 years old. At ang susunod na hakbang ba ng Kongreso ay habulin din yung 6, 7 years, 8 years old? Ang habulin nyo po ay mga sindikato, hindi po ang mga bata.
The Commission on Human Rights meanwhile insisted that the Philippines has an existing commitment with the United Nations, being one of the signatories in the UN Convention on Rights of the Child. This emphasized the country's obligation to protect the welfare of children. Akbayan Party List Representative Tom Villarin for his part scored against the abrupt passage of the measure and claimed it as baseless.
The Justice Committee's haste to have this bill pass without scientific, evidence-based, and factual basis shows how Congress has turned into a bully.
The Senate Committee on Justice is set to hear the bill seeking to lower the age of criminal liability tomorrow. Senate President Tito Soto III has filed the Senate Bill No. 2026 that seeks to amend some provisions of the Republic Act No. 9344 or the Juvenile Justice Act of 2006.
Yung proposal ko, medyo magkakaroon lang kami ng debate dyan, I'm sure, dahil ang chairman ng Committee on Justice, Senator Gordo, ang gusto 9.
What do you think about the 9 years old?
Baka sumobra. Baka siguro, worst comes to worst, baka pumayag ako sa 11.
Senator Richard Gordon, the chairman of the Committee on Justice, also expressed that he wants to look into consideration 12 years old as a minimum age requirement on criminal liability. This was despite what President Rodrigo Duterte had expressed to Senator Gordon, indicating that he wants to lower the age of criminal liability to 9 years old.
I plead guilty. I'd like to say that I'd like to take a second look at it again. Maybe bring it down to originally 9 years old or 12 years old.
Malacanang has nothing against the measure, though President Rodrigo Duterte made no mention on his preferred age in his speeches. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Salvador Panelo said the parents should be held liable as well if their children are used by syndicates or are engaged in criminal activities.
The President did not say naman na particular na, wala siyang sinasabi. Just lower it. Depending nga sa discernment yun. Kahit na 9, kung may discernment, may problema ka na.
The House Committee on Justice cited in its decision several countries that impose minimum age of criminal liability of 10 years old to as low as 6 years old. Grace Kasin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
A senatorial aspirant and former law dean expressed his opposition to the proposed measure lowering the age of criminal responsibility to 9 years old, saying it contradicts the country's obligation under an international treaty. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
Senatorial aspirant and former Dean of De La Salle College of Law, Attorney Jose Manuel Chel Jokno, opposes the recently passed measure lowering the age of criminal liability to 9 years old. In an interview in the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon, Jokno argued that the Philippines is a signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which bans cruel punishment to a child offender. The treaty also prohibits jailing them with adults and sentencing them to death or life imprisonment.
Pumayag tayo dun sa treaty na nakalagay ay hindi natin pwedeng ibaba below 12 years old ang age of criminal responsibility.
Jokno, who is a veteran human rights lawyer, added that children who are only being used in committing crimes should not be punished. If elected to the Senate, Jokno promised to focus on reforming the twisted justice system in the country, which according to him is the main obstacle to progress.
Naalaman ko na hindi na sapat yung pinaglalaban ko sa loob ng arena ng hukuman. Dahil yung mismong sistema ng hustisya natin ay hindi na makatarungan. At pag sinabi natin, patas ba yan ang labanan dyan? Pag ang kalaban ng mahirap ay mga malalaking tao, alam naman natin lahat hindi totoo yan.
He also wants to free the courts of commercial litigation by sending such disputes to arbitral bodies. He pledges to be a voice to the poor and to fight for their rights.
Ipinangangako ko na ako ay magiging boses ng mga mahihirap, na ipagtatanggol ko ang kanilang karapatan at lalong-lalo na ay ako ay magiging boses ng katarungan para sa lahat, lalong-lalo na yung mga nangangailangan at nasa laylayan ng ating lipunan.
Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Senatorial aspirant Larry Gadon formally filed a petition before the Commission on Elections today asking to prohibit the release of election surveys in the country. According to Gadon, because of surveys, voters cannot appropriately choose candidates. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Attorney Larry Gadon, a Senate aspirant, personally filed a petition before the Commission on Elections today against election surveys. Gadon pleaded the COMELEC to prohibit the release of election surveys, for they seem to dictate the candidates whom voters should choose. Gadon added that surveys are not enough to measure the capability of candidates.
To stop Pulse Asia and SWS from publishing mind conditioning surveys, which are all being done for the purpose of manipulating the minds of our voters.
They will now be sending summons to SWS and Pulse Asia for them to file an answer to the petition. And it will be up to the COMELEC also to schedule the necessary hearings.
Gadon is confident that he will win the senatorial race, though he has a low rating in the surveys.
If you will just open my Facebook account, and you will see there the videos taken from different places at different times where people would mob me in malls, in public places, something which does not happen to other candidates.
Meanwhile, the COMELEC is currently working on the random manual audit from the mock elections held last Saturday. The poll body manually audits votes from the selected clustered precincts, then compared them to the results of the vote counting machines or VCM. Commissioner Louis Tito Guia said because of the faster and centralized system, the random manual audit can be done after 15 days, unlike the last 2016 elections wherein it was done after 20 days.
We will be choosing about 715 precincts nationwide, randomly selected, and we will read the ballots visually and then compare ng resulta ng ballots that were read with the results that will be generated by the automated election system at each of the precinct level.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Malacanang assures that President Rodrigo Duterte is not yet abandoning his bid to change the country's form of government to federalism after he hinted last week at limiting constitutional changes to economic provisions. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
The Duterte administration is not yet giving up on its bid to shift the country's form of government to federalism, according to Malacanang. This is after President Rodrigo Duterte hinted at limiting the amendments in the 1987 Philippine Constitution to economic provisions when he pitched for the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law for the last time in Cotabato City last Friday.
Leaders must be the choice of the people. I am sure that with that fundamentals provided by the law, and hopefully if we can amend the Constitution, not all, but a few of the economic provisions.
Duterte's latest statement is different from his usual pronouncement of pushing for the federal constitution. But Malacanang insists the president's statement was only made out of his frustration over Congress inaction towards the proposed federalism.
Perhaps what he is saying is that it takes too long for Congress to act on it. You must remember that he has been advocating for a revision of the Constitution at the inception of his presidency. And Congress knew that.
The palace also clarifies that Duterte still wants federalism to be realized within his term.
Gusto niya ngang madaliin na eh. Pero he's not alone. It's Congress. Congress has to do something about it too.
When asked about the particular economic provisions that the president wants to be amended in the current charter, Malacanang pointed to those that pertain to foreign investment, particularly the liberalization of many restrictions. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue.
PITC Global Traders and NHA Builders are still on the running to claim this season's title after routing their respective opponents in the UNTV Cup Season 7 quarterfinals. Victor Cosare tells us why.
PITC Global Traders gets to save for another match after narrowly defeating Malacanang PSC Camao 89-85 during the quarterfinals of the UNTV Cup Season 7 held at the Pasig City Sports Center on Sunday. With Ryan Regalado and Hadi Porto firing all cylinders, the PITC forced the game into overtime to pound Malacanang and snip its advantage to clinch one of the remaining two slots for the semis. Regalado and Porto share the Best Players of the Game award after bucketing 19 and 21 points respectively.
Give it to the boys. Talagang they worked hard for it. Sayang, we were up by 12. Binigay nila ulit yung lamang, nakabalik yung Malacanang. Malakas talaga yung Malacanang. I know they're coming back. They're veterans already. So, yung mga bata medyo bagets pa doon sa UNTV. So, nakabalik. Overtime, sabi ko nga sa kanila, there's no tomorrow. It's a must win for us. So they work hard for it, so nanalo naman kami.
The latest win propelled PITC to the second spot while Malacanang placed fourth in the standings.
Breaks of the game na lang talaga. Di talaga para sa amin, so breaks of the game na lang.
In other game, NHA Builders likewise boosted its own outright bid for the semis by downing Senate Defenders in overtime. 89-82. NHA relied on 4 of its players to claim the crucial win. Marvin Mercado and John Dizon fired a combined 34 points to support Anton Lostestica Jr. and Alvin Vitog, who tallied 22 and 19 points respectively. Lostestica and Vitog earned the Best Players of the game title.
Kasi nandun pa rin yung skills nila eh. Ang inaano ko lang na dapat we start strong, we end stronger. So kailangan namin makatapos. Nangyayari kinakapos lagi sa huli. So yung intensity nawawala, nag-overconfident. So yun ang binabawasan natin.
Modesty aside, no? Sarili namin ang pumatay sa game na to eh. Kasi errors namin. We're not making point blank shots. Yung layup na lang, nagmimitis pa kami. Hindi kami dumidepensa ng tama, sumusundot kami, di ba? So, if we stayed honest, especially sa depensa, siguro medyo magandang chance.
Despite their recent defeat, Senate still remains on top of the quarterfinal standings with a 7-4 record, followed by PITC, NHA, and Malacanang, who all tallied 6 wins and 5 defeats. The last quarterfinal game next week will reveal who among these teams will advance to the semis to battle against AFP Cavaliers and PNP Responders. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Up next on Y News. President Donald Trump proposes immigration deal to end U.S. government shutdown. Funerals held in Mexico for victims of gas pipeline blast as loved ones search for missing relatives.
Amazing. It's, as you can see, it's a party atmosphere, but everybody is just enjoying the spectacle.
And total lunar eclipse woos moon gazers. And those are the reasons behind the stories in the second part of our newscast. Y News returns with William Thio. I'm Angelo, Castro III. Good evening.